So I'm just reading over here some of the questions. I asked if there was any more questions inside the chat, and there's a decent amount. So I'm just filtering out which ones are the ones we want to talk about. Let's see. This is an interesting question. These are two great questions actually. Your personal favorite of some of the songs you've worked with. Let's broaden that up from Kelly Clarkson to DC Talk. Anything in between the songs that you've worked with.
Yeah, I can definitely go down. Well, DC Talk stuff. I'm trying to think. My favorite album was Supernatural, just because it was so keyboard heavy. So the keyboard. Yeah,
sure.
Like DC Talk's heyday was right about the time grunge was breaking through, which was a very dark time for keyboard players. So unless you played a B3, that worked. Nick Carter. I still listen to some of his stuff because I'm a pop head. I'm a huge fan of Max Martin. For people who don't know, Max Martin is a mega producer. I mean, probably 80% of what you heard on the radio comes from Max.
100%, yeah. Have you worked with him?
I've talked to him on the phone several times. I've never worked with him as a producer or as a songwriter. I've only dealt with him working with Kelly stuff. A lot of times. Like when I get ready for a tour, I personally love. I'm a sound head, so I love nailing the exact sounds. As a fan, for me, when I go see a band play, I'm sorry, I don't want the acoustic version of your hit. I want to hear, the way I love it on the radio. Kelly's the opposite. Kelly would rather do her biggest hits broken down, intimate, and acoustic. So there's always a back and forth between us. And so if you look at our tours over the years. Like we compromise. It's like, okay, we've done the song acoustic for a while. Can we go back to full band? And then she's like, okay, we've been doing it this way for a while. Can we break it down? So anyway, long story to say, the Nick album, there's a song, if you look it up, called I Got You. It's probably my favorite song of that era. Kelly stuff, her longtime fans know my favorite song from Thankful is What's Up Lonely. And I think I've tried to get it on every tour. And I think at least 6 of the last tours, we probably do it the first night or the second night, and then she's like, "Look."
Well, that is a perfect segue to the question of whether or not, you've been touring with Kelly for a long time. Do you get sick? How soon do you get sick of these songs? Where it's some of these songs, hits are still on the radio from 18 years ago. Do you get tired of it or do you not? And this is a personal question for everybody.
Yeah, but it's very, very, very rare that I get tired of something. And usually by the time I'm tired of it, I'm going to Kelly and say, hey, let's do this with it. Let's,
okay.
Miss Independent right now, the way we're doing it, it's like a mashup between a Jay-Z song and, so we've added horns. That song has changed the most over the years. Ironically, if you go to Pulse Music Boards and the Kelly forums right now, I think the last 20 posts are all about Already Gone, because we just did a corporate show and we put Already Gone back in the set list, and it's probably one of my favorite sounding songs of Kelly's. Ryan Tedder produced it and I love the production on it. So every tour I'm like, we need to get Already Gone back in here. There's something about the song when we play it live, and even when Kelly does it, she gets bored, we get bored. It just it's a song that works great for listening to and has a vibe, but somehow after you've sang Already Gone 35 times in a row, it's not. So I actually pushed it to be in the set list that we just did, and after the first night we're like, yeah, that needs to go, and so we took it out. And so a lot of people are asking what's the hate for Already Gone. It's just no hate. It's just one of those ones that just doesn't
work.
Bring us joy live.
Yeah. What have you found are some of the more difficult covers that you've had, the ones you've had trouble with?
The hardest one I've ever done, I can't remember the name of the song. It was we were playing Radio City Music Hall. I want to say it was a Bette Midler Broadway song, and that is not my style of playing, not up my alley. So I was a nervous wreck playing, a Broadway song in New York City at Radio City. Kelly killed it. It was a struggle for me. On the TV show, same thing. I'm a synth player, a B3 player. Piano, I can get by and cheat on some stuff, but that's not, I would never sit down in front of you and play a solo piano song. Mm-hmm. Which drives, you go home for Christmas and mom's like, play me a song. I'm like, Mom, I don't do that. I play with a band. I'm not supposed to hear it. That's not me. So we covered Mr. Rogers, It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. That one was really hard for me because it's very piano jazzy. And then the worst thing Kelly ever did for me is on Wrapped in Red, her Christmas album, the song, A Few of My Favorite Things. Greg Kirsten produced that. Greg is also another incredible producer. I'm a huge fan of his. And he's an incredible jazz player. So there's like this piano solo on that song. So then we have to go and perform it live. I think I practiced probably 8 hours a day for 2 weeks just to try to pull that song. And literally it was just like, at this point, I'm like, it's just hilarious. Like, I feel like a fraud. I've won a Grammy and I'm sitting here slowing down the tempo going, da, 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 and trying to keep going. Like it's just, it doesn't come easy for me. I have to work really, really hard at it. So those ones are hard to cover.
I appreciate your authenticity because I think that one of the things that I think about all the time, you know, as an artist, and something I try to bring light to is like, you know, we all struggle as artists, you know, winning Grammys and not winning Grammys. Like, we think that we get to this certain level and it's like, oh, it's going to be patty cake from now on. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like you still had to practice. Even with your Grammy sitting on the wall, you still slowed down the song and had to practice. And it's so
I still have to do that for the karaoke in our show. And like, man, I can't imagine like growing up now. Like I probably watch 20 YouTube videos a week, still learning how to do things in Logic, still learning. Like I'm watching this little YouTube series right now where I'm learning how to play country licks because we're covering all these country songs. And like, okay, well, I need to figure that out. Now I've got some 12-year-old kid out there, you know, breaking it down for me, slowing me down how to do a country lick, you know. And so it's,
I love it.
It's a great time we live in for things like that.
Oh, dude, I learned guitar on YouTube. You know, shout out to was it Marty Schwartz, the guy that had 1,000 YouTube covers like when I was growing up, man. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But